There's no such thing as a small disaster. So when you call 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota, we come prepared to restore your life back to normal. From burst pipes to unexpected mold discoveries or fire damage, when things couldn't be worse, we come to you with our best. With empathy, local expertise, and a truck full of seriously powerful equipment. 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota. Restoring what matters most. 701-670-2022.
Good morning and welcome to this Valley News Now weather update brought to you by 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota. I'm meteorologist Lisa Green here with a look at the ice that we are dealing with here, the freezing rain that's led to some really slick spots. Now, I know there are places where we're a little bit better off than others, but we've had a lot of people come into work this morning, just coming in, telling me that the intersections are bad, the frontage roads, the side streets are bad this morning, and that we're dealing with some conditions that are just really tough, probably the toughest of any morning this week, at least in Fargo. Now, it might be a little bit different in other places in the valley, but I am looking at, conditions that are going to be difficult for travel across a good portion of the valley. At any given time today, we have that possibility with this system moving in. So I want to make sure that we are first alerting you to the latest here as we get things going here. So again, looking at conditions that will continue to be tough for much of the morning and into the afternoon, because we are going to have our temperatures below freezing all day. If you haven't dropped below freezing in your area, you will. And so it will get more slick in those spots. And then we'll just add some more moisture into this system as it develops, as it moves in. And that's going to create a more steady precipitation for some areas. And so we're going to break that down for you, talk about timing, when it will end as well, and what we can expect for the weekend too coming up here in your forecast. So again, first off, it's a first alert weather day. So today through tomorrow morning. Now the precip will end before tomorrow morning, but we stretched it into the early morning hours for Saturday because of that potential for impacts as you are trying to get up and get going for your weekend. Just want you to be prepared that it may still be slick out there, especially if you went in for the evening and haven't been outside since maybe 6 o'clock tonight, and so you don't know what to expect in the morning. Just know that it may still be slick. So first alert weather day, again, that we are first alerting you to. So here's a look at our headlines here. So the morning hours, we saw the overnight precip impact places in the north and lots of areas in the north dealing with icy roads. And now we're seeing that freezing rain and drizzle affect more and more areas in the valley. So we'll continue to have icy roads, freezing rain and drizzle midday. Moving on into the later afternoon, into the evening, that's when we'll see more of that transition happen, more of that moisture push in, and that will affect especially areas in the south and east. So that's the area of greatest concern for later today, but that doesn't mean other spots won't be impacted. We'll see the wind pick up too, which will result in some reduced visibility where snow is falling. Once that snow sticks, it may not get picked up and blown around as much, but as it's falling, that wind may whip it around a little bit as the wind picks up. And then heading into the late night, overnight, we'll see the snow end, and then slick roads still hanging around into morning. And again, that's why we have extended that first alert into the Saturday morning time frame. So that's a look at, general timing. Let's take a look at how things are right now. So this is our view on our sky cam at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds in West Fargo. You can see the view, not so great. It's iced over, and this is a good example of what we've been talking about some impacts from this system. Those colder surfaces, those colder objects are going to be freezing over. So, that means not just roads, but your decks, your sidewalks, your driveways, parking lots, roads and surfaces that don't get treated. Or maybe aren't as traveled as much. And sometimes we see icier conditions at intersections because you get a lot of stopping and starting. That friction from your tires can melt and then, melt the ice, and then because it heats it up, and then it freezes back over again in between vehicles. So that leads to more icy spots too in some of those areas. So just something to be aware of. This is the day where you want to make sure your headlights and taillights are on the road. You're not using the cruise control. That lots of stopping distance. I had a coworker mention they slid 10 feet into the intersection as they were coming into work here this morning. So we don't want anybody doing that at the same time and having collisions here. So again, icy out there as you see behind me on our sky cam. So let's take a look at our latest advisory. This has been tough because it's been changing as we've gone through the morning, but here is a look at our latest winter weather advisory. You can see northeastern North Dakota no longer included in any advisories right now, and that does include Grand Forks County. Polk County is still in the advisory, and southeastern North Dakota also still in that winter weather advisory, and that is in effect until 6 o'clock tonight for places like Fargo and back over toward Bemidji as well. And then to the south, we do have some areas that have the advisory in effect for a longer period of time. So different National Weather Service offices service our area. So the Grand Forks area covers most of our counties, but some of our counties in the far south, places in South Dakota, the Traverse County area, and then also back over into Douglas County, the Alexandria area. They're covered by different offices, so their timelines are a little bit different sometimes. So the South Dakota counties, including Roberts County, including Brown and Marshall, and then Traverse County in Minnesota, we're under the winter weather advisory all the way through 6 a.m. on Saturday there. So that's going to be an area where it lasts a little bit longer. And then into the Twin Cities area, the advisory that they issue advisories for Alexandria and Douglas County, and that is in effect until 9 a.m. And then the rest of this area here, St. Cloud into central parts and southern parts of Minnesota, under that advisory as well. And then of course here in the valley, most of our counties in our viewing area, this is where we're talking about that 6 p.m. this evening end time. It's possible as the system continues to develop that we may see some extension in some spots, but for right now, that's where it stands. Bottom line I'd take away from this is that we're still being impacted. We still need to watch out for winter weather, at least through this evening in these spots. And then for some, it may stick around a little bit longer. So here's a look at our visibility reports. You can see that eastern North Dakota, there's some areas where visibility is reduced, but that freezing drizzle, that is really, and the fog, really impacting places to the east. So Bemidji, Park Rapids, Wadena, reporting visibility near 0 in those locations. Fergus Falls, down I-94 to Alexandria, visibility is less than a mile in that area as well. So some areas of dense fog, and as temperatures drop, we'll see some issues with tough travel on the roads. And here's a look at our road conditions in both North Dakota, Minnesota, and also down into South Dakota. Anywhere you see blue or pink, that means the weather is impacting our roads in some way. So I'm going to pull up our road conditions map on our website, and we'll take a look at each state. So in North Dakota, we've had a lot of areas having trouble with ice. Northeastern North Dakota, since last night, has been an area of focus. Anywhere in yellow, that's ice, compacted snow, or scattered ice. And so you can see Devil's Lake up to the border, back over toward Grand Forks, along I-29, border to Grand Forks, down through Jamestown, a kind of a solid area of ice and scattered ice. The shaded counties here, that would be Pembina, Walsh, Grand Forks, Griggs, and Steele County. Those counties are under a travel alert currently. And then the rest of eastern North Dakota, you can see some more colors going on here. Blue indicates, the darker blue, wet or slushy roads. And then there are the pockets of ice. Fargo-Moorhead, we've had some ice in town, and out toward West Fargo and toward Castleton, looks like some scattered ice. And then other pockets here that are also seeing icy patches too. Green is good for the season, but again, don't be surprised if that changes in those roads that are looking better right now. So I'm going to turn on our cameras and just look at a couple of spots. Let's check out the Michigan area. You can see low clouds. Visibility is looking a little bit better here. And then up toward, we'll take a look at just west of Cavalier, looking very frosty on the trees and the power lines. I'm seeing ice on the power lines there. So that could be an issue for power outages if we get more buildup of ice heading into later parts of the day today. And then checking down toward Grand Forks, we'll just scroll through some of these shots. Some of these cameras just look dirty, or maybe a little bit of ice buildup. There's some ice right there. So yeah, on both sides of that camera, definitely some ice buildup. So that gives you an idea, again, what we're seeing there. And then down south, We'll take a look at the Morton area. Looking a little better there. Might be a little icy on some of the, again, roadways. Your interstates, your more traveled roads are going to be more treated and just more vehicles traveling on it. Will be a little bit better off, but there will probably still be some icy patches. Let's take a look at Minnesota. This is an area where, again, we're seeing some dense fog still. Looks like we've got this exclamation point tells us there's been an incident. Looks like there's a crash along Highway 2 between east of Erskine, between McIntosh and Foston. Hopefully everybody's okay there. And again, blue and pink are on the map here in that northwestern corner of Minnesota. That means we've got partially covered to completely covered roads from ice. You have to hover over them to see what the details are. So along Highway 11 in northern Minnesota, roadways completely covered with ice, icy bridges, slippery, and treated pavement there. So that's something to check on if you're going to be traveling. And these little warnings here let us know that there's something the camera's detecting, likely fog, freezing fog. Yes, we're looking at fog. Air temperature 37, so that's good to be above freezing when you've got fog, but eventually, again, we've got colder air moving in. This is Lake Itasca camera. Moving south along the Osage area. Camera's not showing up here. We'll zoom in a little more. It doesn't want to pop up. Let me see if I can pull. Let's just turn the camera on. We'll turn off the weather stations. Looks like the website itself is having a little trouble here. We'll move up and see if we can pull up a different cam. So yeah, this is the Solway area. Definitely looking foggy along Highway 2 in this area. And east of Park Rapids, Chamberlain looking foggy, murky, down toward Battle Lake, or Otter Tail rather. You could see that we've got so definitely some foggy conditions going on in that area too. And Evansville along I-94. We'll pull up this camera. Again, fog. So got a gloomy day, one that's on the tough side here for a lot of places with the fog and issues with that, reducing our visibility most to the east. And let's take a quick look at, let's see if we can go back. There we go. We'll go to our weather page. And I just want to take a look at some of our sky cams here. We'll take a look at the Red River Bridge cam. A little too big for this window that we have, but looks like traffic moving along just fine on the bridge. Red River Valley Fairgrounds camera we just looked at just a moment ago. We won't even bring that up since we just looked at it. Let's check out Grand Forks, the UND cam. And you can see that, again, we've got frosty areas on the trees there as well. Looks like the road is either wet or has some ice on it this morning too. And let's check out the Dakota Magic Casino camera. Again, this one takes a little bit to load, but this is down by the Dakota border. So the North Dakota, South Dakota line, reduced visibility with some fog in that area too, and you can see some wind starting to pick up. Okay, let's get back to our graphics and get back to the weather conditions we've got going on. There's that road map we just shared with you. And then looking at our radar right now, you can see that we've got an area that's really taking shape of some precipitation, what looks to be snow. At least that's what's detected in the clouds from the radar beams here. So what may be happening still is that there could still be some melting going on by the time it reaches the ground, could still be a loft. As we see more moisture move into this system, the chances of that snow reaching the ground will be greater. I'm actually going to go back to our road map and pull up our cameras over toward Jamestown and into Stutsman County and see if we've got anything going on there on the cameras as kind of ground truth. So let's see here. We'll pull our camera up. This is Medina. Definitely looks like we've got some ice, some slush on the grassy surfaces here on the side of the road, and the road itself looks to be wet. Visibility doesn't look too bad in this area. Sometimes it's easier to see the precip at night than it is in the daylight if it's not super heavy and obscuring our view as much. Let's look at Jamestown, the Jamestown area. You can definitely see some frost on the trees here. Hard to tell if we've got any flakes coming down there. And we'll go farther south down toward Millerton. Looks like just maybe a damp road. Valley City, ice on the camera there. So I'm not really seeing anything that tells me, okay, we've got heavy snow, even though, and some of this on the radar, I can pull up the radar on this too. You can always do that as well on the North Dakota DOT map. Radar has the bulk of it kind of between Jamestown and Medina. So on the western end, not really showing a lot right now, but that's something we'll be keeping an eye on here heading through the morning, is this line that's been developing. Let's go back to our radar. And again, there are some areas where we've seen some purple at times. A reminder that purple means either sleet, mixed precipitation. You can see it kind of fizzles out as it approaches Fargo. And there are a lot of places, just like yesterday, there are going to be, a lot of places that we're dealing with freezing mist or drizzle that's not getting detected on the radar. So that's been happening this morning in places like Fargo. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at the radar in the VNL weather app. It's not necessarily showing the fine mist that is impacting us and creating some of this ice. But what is showing is looking to be, kind of that setup for that next round happening into the afternoon and happening into the evening hours for tonight. So we're going to keep a close eye on this as we go through the day. We did have some more rain showers up in the northeast. Those are departing. Might be a little snow shower up by Roseau right now, heading into the War Road area too. And that area is reporting some patchy ice on the road in that location, partially covered with ice and slippery there is what the DOT says. And then moving back west, there's that line that is showing some snow aloft. So from Jamestown, Medina essentially, to the Wishick area, watching this area again closely for potential for it to have some impacts on travel and may be reaching the ground at any minute here. I'm going to watch our cameras over in Jamestown as this gets a little closer, but up toward Buchanan along Highway 281 there, we'll be keeping a close eye on. So let's expand the view. You can see that this system has more snow with it down into South Dakota. So as it continues to develop and moves eastward, some of this will be trying to work its way into the valley too. We're on the cold side of it. We do have some severe weather going on today for parts of the central plains and southern plains. Last night we had tornadoes, so it was into early morning. So this is again a dynamic system, and we just so happen to be on the cold side of it. So we're looking out for that rain transition to snow. So here's a look at our temperatures. We were in the upper 30s this morning initially in Fargo. You can see where we are now, 22 degrees in Fargo. It's still above freezing to the east in spots, but we're definitely below up toward the northwest. We've been in the teens all morning. We're at 15 degrees in Devil's Lake, 14 in Rolla. You can see a big difference between Rolla and Alexandria, almost a 30-degree difference there. So this is the area in the east that I'm watching for temperatures to drop below freezing, because once these communities see that happen, we're looking out for the possibility for that fog that's out there right now to freeze and lead to some slick spots on the roads in these locations. And then we'll all be below freezing together. We'll all be in this together. So here's a look at our hour-by-hour planner. This model not showing the current situation, exactly how it's playing out, but it gives you an idea of what we can expect as we head into the afternoon. This is 3 p.m. You can see some areas in pink here, down towards Sisseton, Wheaton, back up through Elbow Lake and Wadena. This is the area where we're most likely to see our more steady precipitation as this evolves today. We're looking out for some freezing rain and then eventually a changeover to snow. And some of this may spread back into parts of southeastern North Dakota and then more parts of west central Minnesota. If you're up toward Devil's Lake, not as likely to see this as we head into today. Doesn't mean we won't see some flakes or some freezing drizzle ongoing, but the more substantial precipitation is more likely in the south and east. So pushing this and putting this into motion, pushing ahead into that 4:30 time frame, you see that changeover to snow is happening more in these locations. And then we continue on to really be all snow for our viewing area once we get into drive time tonight. And again, Fargo's right on the edge of this, so there's the possibility we could just get a little more freezing drizzle and be done with it in the FM area. Or it's possible, we could see more of that steady light freezing rain and then the snow that may coat over that, any glaze of ice that we get in some spots. So that's something to keep in mind here heading into the evening hours for tonight. Now, if you're in Lakes Country, this is where you're more likely to pick up the snow and have this impact your travel tonight. And then stretching down, trying to get to the Twin Cities, you're going to be dealing with this too. Detroit Lakes, Fergus Falls, Wadena, back to Wahpeton, Sisseton, up through Bemidji. That's the area of greater likelihood. And in the meantime, we're watching that wind pickup. You can see that gust there, 27 miles per hour out of the northwest. We could have gusts to 30, and that would be enough to cause some lower visibility with the snow that's falling. So moving on into later tonight, you can see that we're still dealing with some snow in the southeast at 11 p.m., and then this moves on. So by Saturday morning, the precip is done, but it may still be slick out there. You want to be aware of the fact that you might have some icy roads for any travel you're doing on Saturday. So let's look ahead to our ice potential. In addition to anything we've seen so far, you can see again the focus is more south and east, and that is going to be a big factor for places in Minnesota, especially heading into this afternoon and into tonight. And our snow potential, so this would be on top of any ice we see. That's why I've got that ice there, just so you know that there's going to be ice in that same area potentially. And then you can see this narrow streak, this narrow band of a little bit more moderate snowfall potential. So a lot of us look up to the northwest, really sparse chances to even get a flurry in parts of the north and western parts of the valley through Saturday morning. But there are some pockets that might get a flake or two, or maybe even a very light dusting in some of these areas. The farther southeast you go, the better the chances are that you may see some of this. Fargo, again, maybe a little bit of freezing drizzle and then a light dusting on top of it. And then more likely, again, right through that Sisseton, Fergus Falls, Park Rapids line, this kind of medium blue color, that's getting into that 3+ range. That is a possibility. Tough to nail these down though when we've got changing precip types happening here. To say exactly when that's going to happen is very tough, and that has an impact when that changeover happens on whether we see more freezing rain or more snow. But bottom line is we have the potential for an inch, maybe a couple to 3 inches of snow in some of these spots, on top of any ice we may see. And again, anywhere where snow is falling, you can see the wind's going to be a factor into tonight, gusts around 30 miles per hour. So afternoon, again, I just want to stress that everybody's going to be dropping below freezing heading into later today. So we'll all have the potential for icy conditions on our sidewalks and roads. Breezy weather going on, windy weather with those gusts to 30, and then the potential for ice and snow, again, more likely in this area here. That doesn't mean, that drawing didn't show up very well. Probably, let's erase that. We'll just circle it with my arrow. Most likely here in that southeastern part of our viewing area. Fargo will be on the edge. Again, the farther south you go, southeast on I-94 into Minnesota, the better the chances you are of seeing that mix of ice and or snow this afternoon, on top of the freezing drizzle a lot of us are experiencing. There's our ice potential graphic again. I'm going to move ahead, and looks like I've got a couple of instances of this in here. Want to look at the weekend. Heading into Saturday, the morning will start off much quieter. We'll see some pretty decent weather into midday, and we'll start warming up. The wind's going to pick up. I'll show you the wind in a minute. But we've got another system passing by to the north as you're planning your weekend. Just know that some of the moisture with it may slip into the valley as we're looking out for the front associated with it to be moving in. And that means that, yes, precipitation, that we have the potential for as well the possibility of some wind too to go with it, but it is going to be more of a warming wind coming up here for the weekend. And so as that boundary kind of works its way through, heading into Saturday night, this is 9 p.m., don't be surprised if you have a passing rain shower. There may be a little more of a mix in places like Lake of the Woods heading into Saturday night and into early Sunday. You might have a few flakes and flurries up along the international border Sunday morning. So then Sunday we get into, it looks like a pretty decent day. In fact, it's going to be very warm. More clouds to the north, and then we'll be watching for potential for, a little bit of isolated precip to move in Sunday night. coming up here for the end of the weekend to kind of bookend the weekend. So looking at our wind gust planner for the weekend, Saturday, again, the wind picks up through the day. We'll get a break into Saturday morning. By 6 p.m., you see we've got gusts into the 20s to 30. Into the 10 o'clock hour Saturday night, gusts 30 plus. Strongest gusts are more likely to be closer to the low, but you can see even in the south, we've got the potential for south or southwesterly gusts to be in the 30s. And then moving on into Sunday, still brisk, still breezy, but not as strong. And we'll see at times that potential for some gusts into the 20s to 30 miles per hour heading into Sunday night. And then let's take a look at the temperatures. This looks pretty impressive heading into the weekend. Saturday, good news here. We've got the ice and snow today. Icy roads. What will happen, Saturday will start off below freezing and then we'll rise above by the afternoon, which should help with some of that snow and ice. We're looking at temperatures in the upper 30s to some mid 40s, maybe even some upper 40s in the west. And then on Sunday, we really surge with that warmer air, upper 40s to some upper 50s. And yes, you probably noticed it, Jamestown, southwestern parts of our viewing area, James River Valley, that's where we have the best chance for getting close to that 60-degree mark, my goodness, on Sunday. So a nice warm weekend. Just know that in between these daytime highs, we do have that shot of rain overnight Saturday night into early Sunday possibly. And then, next week is going to be kind of a return to more, typical March expectations as far as temperatures are concerned. So we're working our way through today. We are going to deal with this system that's bringing us the ice and the snow potential for some. And then heading into the weekend, Saturday, don't forget, it's daylight saving time Saturday night into Sunday. So you want to spring forward. And then it feels like spring on Sunday. And then Monday, even on the mild side, but we are watching out for our next system on Monday and into Tuesday for the potential for some snow with that. And we'll see temperatures kind of come back down to reality into some upper 20s and some low 30s into next week. Average high for today's date's 31. So it's right within that range heading into next week. Just, kind of in this unsettled pattern. It's that time of year of transition. It's March, and we know lots of things can happen in March. We can have blizzards and huge snowstorms. We can have temperatures soaring, especially by the end of March. Our record high today, I believe, is 66, the last I looked. And, those records just keep building heading toward the end of the month. So we can have some really warm weather in March. And so that those wild differences mean that we can have, wild swings too. And so that's where we're at. We're seeing, that transition happening. Some days that are warmer, some days that we see winter weather try to make a comeback. It's trying to happen today with that potential for snow. And next week, some more unsettled weather coming our way. So good time to be weather aware, making sure we're paying attention, checking our VNL weather app for the latest conditions. We'll continue to keep you updated there. And just being careful out on the roadways as we have temperatures climb above freezing and then drop below freezing again, and then just kind of going back and forth and ice developing at times in the coming days. So again, first alert weather day today. Be ready for some slick intersections and roadways. Be ready for the potential for more freezing rain later today and some snow, especially in the southeast, coming up for later on this afternoon and into tonight, and then a warm weekend ahead after that. So I hope you have a great weekend, a safe weekend, and if you don't want to be out in the weather, we've got lots of events going on. Craft Fest, Unglued Craft Fest going on. The Sportsman Show, you can see that up here. The Red River Valley Sportsman Show at the Fargo Dome. Good way to think spring while you're there too, with boats and all that kind of stuff. So lots of activities you can do if you're not wanting to be out in this kind of weather here in the coming couple of days. So again, have a great day, have a great weekend, and I'll be back here on Monday. Otherwise, our afternoon and evening crews will continue to keep you updated right here on Valley News Live. This has been your weather update brought to you by 1-800-WATER DAMAGE of North Dakota. And again, have a great day. We're going to pull up our graphic here and play that out for you. And again, we'll see you on Monday.
There's no such thing as a small disaster. So when you call 1-800-WATER DAMAGE of North Dakota, we come prepared to restore your life back to normal. From burst pipes to unexpected mold discoveries or fire damage, when things couldn't be worse, we come to you with our best. With empathy, local expertise, and a truck full of seriously powerful equipment. 1-800-WATER DAMAGE of North Dakota. Restoring what matters most. 701-670-2022.